Word. Dr. Melissa, welcome to the Biohacker Babes. Great to see you today.
Hey, ladies. So excited to sit down with you again and have another beautiful continuation of our conversation.
I
Yeah,
know we
this
were
is such cool
joking. We'll just
timing.
do it weekly. Just show up on a Monday, have a little gal chat.
It's so important. Like,
Yeah.
I just think we don't get this enough in our lives. And it's better in person, but it's just so nice to sit
Yeah.
with other women and talk about real life stuff and how we navigate it. So, super grateful to be here.
Yes. Yes. I'm so excited for this conversation. I think it's going to be so helpful for our listeners, not just the women. Everyone can take away from this, but especially the women, the busy women, moms, all of that, because I think you are just an amazing example of this. You're a practitioner, a wellness expert, a mom, a business owner, and you find the time to build in your healthy habits every day. And I just think you're such a great role model and inspiration. And I will share a funny story that I will never forget. I think it was the first time we actually met in person. Lauren and I were hosting a wellness panel at an event, and you were on the panel, and we were going down the line asking about morning routines. And you made everyone just totally crack up. You were like, yeah, that's all great, but when you have three kids, you got to get ready for school. Like, we don't have time to just be like outside laying naked in the grass, grounding, getting our sunshine. Like, I was like, that is such a good point. And I know that some of us biohackers kind of get sucked into these routines, but we have to make it easy for people. We want to make it easy for people to do every day because we know the consistency is where the healthy practices really shine. So, just to kick it off with your busy lifestyle, like on a daily basis, how do you stay focused on incorporating these healthy habits?
Yeah. And thank you for all the beautiful, caring, loving things you said about me in the intro. And just to keep it real, like I definitely struggle. I definitely fall off course. I'm definitely human. I have challenges just like everybody else. But I think, one of the most important things that we need to do as moms, women with full lives, men, doing our best is like establishing our values because that's where our compass, it's like that's how we set our true north. And so we're always going to find that place. And I love core values. I think it's one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves as a couple, as a family, as a company culture. I'm very clear that health and freedom are like tied for first. They're my number one core values. And part of that happened from getting really sick. It's like you ask anyone their one true wish, and there's a lot of wishes until someone gets sick and they have one wish to be healthy. And I experienced that, right? So health is number one on my list. So even when I fall off track or like we travel for work or life gets lifey, right? Like stuff just happens, I'm always going to come back to that true north. And so I think, establishing the paradigm and knowing that it's really important in leveraging however that needs to work for you because it's so easy to put our jobs first, our careers first, our families first. But like the reality is if we fall apart, there's a lot that's not only not going to get done, I think as women, we need to like leverage it a little bit further by really realizing that we're going to become a burden to someone else. Because I think when you can put it there, it's like that's our worst nightmare, right? Like I don't want to be hard for someone else to manage, or I don't want to put extra work on like my friends or my loved ones. But that's what happens, right? And so, in those moments where you're like, God, I really need this few minutes for a break. And, that voice can come in like I'm selfish or I don't have time or these people need me or these things need to get done and no one else is going to do it. Like it helps kind of quiet that voice and turn up the volume on the one that's like usually a whisper, right? That's like, I can't do this anymore. Like I just need a break. I need help. Like this is too much for one person. It turns that one up. And so we start to listen and tune in a little more. And I know we're going to talk about this in the podcast. I think what's really important is the reality of like having the tools that we can incorporate into our full lives so that when we do hear that voice that's like, I can't anymore or I need a break, we're not trying to figure out how to schedule like the 1 hour massage or like the big workouts. I love all these things, but like what can we actually access in those pockets of like the 1 minute, 2 minutes to just reset to our true north, fill our cup a little bit so that we can keep going. I think one of the things a lot of us do is like we push and push and push and like, oh, this weekend I'll catch up. Or, Friday night I'll finally get that break. And then we get there and either we fill it again because it's a habit and we find what's familiar, or we're so freaking fried that like we can't even enjoy it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
those, it's
absolutely.
having those resources of like, I've got 2 minutes and here's exactly, here's 10 things that I know I can do or not do that are going to actually fill that cup. That's realistic self-care in my mind.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the little
Yeah.
quick, easy tips that we could drop into. But first, you said we have to set those values or be clear about those values. I
Hmm.
always ask clients on their intake form, like, what is your dream? And it's like a little bit of a test just to see if they can answer it. And to be honest, most people can't answer it. So, what are some tips for even getting clear on your values or your why or connecting it to your health journey? How do we go about that process?
That's a good one. And I feel like it's a bit multi-layered, right? And it touches on what you first said. It's if you ask someone their dreams and they don't even know, I think that's where we really got to start. And I think that probably is one of the most common struggles for most women. It's like we don't even know what we want or need anymore. And I think I would love to know your guys' opinion on this, but I think part of that is a result of like I had heard this on a different podcast and I love this. And I haven't, just to be totally transparent, I haven't looked up the science on this. So I'm just sharing what I heard on another podcast. But it was this really interesting, like anecdotal story about the difference in boys and girls and men and women, right, based on our hormones. And so this story was this guest on the podcast was saying, you ask, I think it was like a 7-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl what they want for lunch. And they'll both answer with crystal clarity, like, I want a peanut butter sandwich, I want pizza, whatever. You go and you ask a boy and a girl after puberty, a young man and a young woman, what they want for lunch. And the boy, the young man, is going to answer with complete clarity. And the young woman is usually going to say, I don't know, what do you want? Right. And so, based
Oh,
on, all of our hormones that have helped us survive as a species, right? We are the tend and befriend, we are the caretakers. Like, we first put our lens on everyone and everything outside of us before ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think getting back to, I'd love to replace self-care with self-connection. We've got to first create that connection with ourselves again so that we can figure out what is it that we want? Or like honestly, what is it that I don't want in my life anymore? Because I think it's so easy to kind of get those hits of like anger, grief, sadness, resentment, envy, like excuse my French, like shit's not working and then just stuff it down and keep trudging forward because we think it's just what we got to do. Right. And
Yeah.
so, I've got this great resource because I noticed this was a problem in my life. I was like, okay, I keep having this whisper of like, I need more time for myself. This isn't working. And, you know, as a busy mom, there was a time in my life where like that would show up at the end of the day, right? End of the workday. I now go home. I've got the kids. I'm super connected to my kids. Like I've wanted to be a mom my entire life and loved, my time with them in the evening. And then the reality of like everything that you got to juggle, right? I got to cook dinner. They're wanting me. Like I feel pulled in a million directions. And so I'd have a glass of wine and it's like the mom culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't getting like blitzed or anything, but I'm like, okay, I can't control like all that I want or don't want happening. So I'll just have this glass of wine and feel like I'm getting something for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I
right.
think what's really important is to tune in and actually listen and not necessarily like numb out with those things and actually start to hear like, okay, I need help. I need help at night. I need to food prep. Like once we can actually start listening instead of tuning out, we can start to get the answers to what's working, what's not working. We can start to create solutions. Often we have to get a little creative. It takes a village. We don't really have them in today's day, but at least to start to have that inner conversation. And so one of the resources I know we'll share is something I call the connection code. And it's like this I have like this short video walkthrough of let's think of like 5 different categories of ways that we can connect with ourselves that could feel good and feel nurturing depending on what's going on, right? So like what's a way for me to get in my body if maybe I'm super stressed and need to move and get out of my head. I love to run. I love to do handstands. So like write that on your list. What's something I can do to connect with myself in 2 minutes if I'm feeling like exhausted and just need to sit? Maybe just like a cup of tea and ditching my phone, right? And like sitting with that thing. What's something I can do to like get expansive and connect with source, something bigger than me? Get in nature, right? So it sounds so simple and subtle, but these are ways that like, in those couple moments that we have, we start to realize what is it that we want? What is it that we crave? How can we literally fill our cup before serving everyone else in a way that's realistic in our life? And then, I think the problem that that solves too is like, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but there have been times where I'm like, I've got 20 minutes to spare. All right, should I fold the laundry? Should I catch up on emails? Should I like lay in the ground for a minute? And then all of a sudden the 20 minutes is gone and you're like, well, crap.
Yep.
I couldn't decide what to do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Decision fatigue.
I did a really interesting exercise. I went and did a psychedelic journey in Costa Rica, and my guides, who were amazing, they gave all of us this homework when we went back to the States. And it's a little bit tedious, but for 1 week, you write down everything you're doing. Like they recommend like 5 minute increments because everyone says, "Oh, I'm too busy. I don't have the time to do this, this, this." So you actually track for a week and then you go back and you circle. You're like, wow, I actually had hours of time that I just, wasted, or I was just playing on my phone or whatever, but you don't realize it until you see it on paper. It's very eye-opening. It sucks for the week you're doing it. I will say that. It's not super fun homework assignment, but very eye-opening to these little pockets of time that we could be doing something to make us feel better.
That's such a great idea. Maybe I'm going to walk my community through that exercise because that's
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
it. We all say we don't have time, but we're filling it with stuff that's not soul fulfilling. And once like just those 2 minute hits of things, like all of a sudden you have more joy and play and excitement in your life. And like you're still getting it all done. You're just not wasting doing the scrolly scroll or like catching
Yeah.
up on emails or like looking around your house. What do I do in this 30 seconds, to catch up? Like that's so important. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I love that.
what did you realize in that process? Like what was the big one for you?
Just that I had a lot of pockets where was checking my email. Like I definitely
Yes.
had an addiction to checking my email where I found if I could just like every hour check it or every 2 hours check it and like do a bulk check.
Hmm.
So a lot of just swiping and deleting throughout the day, and those minutes were really adding up. That was the biggest thing.
Ooh,
I'm sure
that's a
that's
really big
common.
one for me. And I just think if I had like a little card on so I have a window in front of me with sticky notes, which is my husband hates it. But if I had just had a list of things, because you can in that little pocket, you're not going to default to that list. Like I think I need to see it. And I have a kettlebell sitting next to me on the floor because if I didn't have it right there, I would inherently know that I should pick up a kettlebell, but I would find whatever is right in front of me and do like the emails instead.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the sticky is
Thing.
huge. That's so important. So with that resource, I made a PDF. So you can literally cut it out, like make it small, and you write out like how to get in my body, 3 ideas, how to get, what to do in nature, what if it's cold, 3 ideas, how to connect and get my
Plan
heart, three
B.
ideas. It's huge. And like,
Yeah.
I know Lauren, you've been a personal trainer. The difference in someone going to the gym for an hour once a week or like moving their body consistently for a few minutes every day, it's night and day, right? So you do the same
Hmm.
thing with swap the self-care word self-connection and to do 2 minutes, here and there, like once a day. I mean, amazing if you can get twice a day in a week. It completely changes how you show up for your loved ones. It completely changes how you show up for your team, for your employees, to your staff meetings. It's now just habitual for me. Like if I have a Zoom and I have another Zoom, I make sure there's like a 5 minute pocket. I do a lap on my bike or I do handstands or like some acro play or I just lay. Like it's so incredible how quick. And one of my friends
Yeah.
that like talked this through with me, she used to tap dance when she was little. So like a lot of times when you're figuring out these connection tools, you're gonna go back to what you loved when you were little. Like I loved gymnastics.
Yeah.
She used to love to tap, and she's like, God, I suck at tapping. I don't know how to do it anymore. But she went on Amazon, got herself like size 8 tap shoes. She's like, I shut my screen, I tap around my room, and then I get back on Zoom.
That's so
That's so
good.
fun. I still
Like,
have my tap shoes somewhere. I need to get those because
oh, I need to
Same.
pull them out.
sometimes I just kind of sit and tap without shoes on, but And it feels good just to move my feet around. But
Yeah, but
that's a
like
great
put those
one.
little that noise. I mean, that must be so
Yeah.
much. I feel like that would be like a dopamine burst just hearing that click, click, clack.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. And the
Okay.
vibration and oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. I love that so much. Okay, I'm going to work on
Yeah.
my list. Something else that you sparked to me, I was thinking you were saying thinking of the things that you don't want to do anymore, perhaps even before the things that you want to do. Because I see for myself and a big challenge for women is they just feel so responsible, as you mentioned, like we are so
Yeah.
responsible for doing X, Y, and Z that we don't even know what is the potential or what we could be allowed to do because we're just kind of stuck in this box. So how do we kind of get out of that? There's no other option, or this is just the way that it is. How do we allow and give permission to women to see that maybe there's another way, or maybe even work on expressing our voice and our needs so that we can
Mhm.
get to the
So
other?
meaning when a woman is like stuck in a lot of stuff she doesn't want to do, is that what you mean? How do you get out of that?
Yeah, it's just like, well, I have to do the cleaning, I have to do the laundry, I have to cook, I got to do this for the kids. There's no, like, that's just what I'm supposed to do. There's no other
Yeah.
Stopping the
possibility. I'm
cycle.
gonna get burnt out. There's just no other way. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I do think we have to delegate, we have to ask for help. And I want to quantify that because I don't want it to just fall on deaf ears. Like we hear that all the time. But, you know, if you've got kids, I think really think about like what is your quality time with your kids? And so anything that you can delegate that anyone can do, do. And, you know, you can pay very little for help in certain things. Like anyone can do your laundry, but don't you want to be the one like giving your kids a bath? You know, that's kind of how I started it out. One of my patients had said that to me, and I was like, I can't afford, you know, right now to pay a cleaning lady. We had just gotten out of school, or I guess not because I had kids at the time. I don't know. We were saving money and but she was like, have like a 14-year-old come over after school, like hire a kid, have them fold your laundry so you can give your children a bath. And I think you can start at whatever level works for you financially for that and go as far as possible, right? I have a cleaning lady once a week. I would love to have one more. It's just not where I'm spending my money. We're saving for something else. But, you know, I've got friends that like pay someone to cook for them. I tend to like batch cook my food. Like, I don't love to cook. I like to bake, but so I cook twice a week and like done. It's in the fridge and
Oh, wow.
stocked up. I think though too, like boundaries are super important. And that's another thing that, you know, so many of us struggle as women to say no, right?
Mhm.
So it's like we've got our own tasks that we have that's enough of a juggle. And then the second someone asks us for help, it's like we're a bad friend or a bad person if we're not stepping in. And so we're putting extra on our plate. And so I think it's like a two-parter. It's like delegating, asking for help, and also obviously we're helping our friends and our loved ones, but also the ability to say no. And like for me, I had to use the acronym NO, and O stood for nourish oneself. So
Ooh.
like saying no to this
Oh.
thing that like I didn't feel energetically called to or pulled to or I was honestly dreading allowed me to either nourish myself or take care of my family and connect with my children.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
like weighting the, you know, I love those quotes like if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Like just starting
Hmm.
to practice. I like the word practice. Like
Mm.
practice gives our permission to not do it perfectly, but to start to practice saying no and not explain yourself. Or like use a little white lie if you need to. Like, no, I can't. I have an appointment with myself. Like you
Yeah.
don't need to, you
Right.
can like cut it off at I have an appointment.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
like
have
that.
something really important that I absolutely cannot miss on that day. Yeah, it's with me or it's with my children. Like it's okay. Because at the end of the day, if we're serving from an empty cup, we're not helping that person actually. We're not then showing up great for our family or our loved ones or our work, whatever it is. Like we're not helping anyone by saying
Mm-mm.
yes to everything and then burning ourselves out.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I find that the more honest you are with your friends and family about that, like they're really supportive. Like
Hmm.
no one really wants to hang out with you if like you're in a bad mood and you're tired. Like they would rather you just go take a nap than like come and not be a fun person kind of a thing. So I
Yeah.
think they can be really supportive and something my husband and I have been playing with lately. I don't remember where I heard this on Instagram. It was maybe Mel Robbins,
Mm.
where she said with your spouse or your partner looking at it as like a percentage game where like say your spouse comes home and they had a really hard day, okay? It's just work sucked, whatever. They come and say, "Hey, look, I'm at like a 30% right now. Like in a perfect world, we'd both be 50-50, right? Both partners at all times. We'd say, okay, I had a really shitty day. I'm at 30%. Babe, where are you? And hopefully maybe you're like, I had an amazing day. I got great energy. I'm at 70%. I'm gonna make up for that buffer. Or you're like, I'm at 30% too. Let's be really kind to each other and just be aware of that. And we've been playing with that, and it's been a really interesting tool because when you both have a bad day, it can be rough. So if you're just open with that. So
Yeah, I
it's a
love
little
that.
fun
I mean,
thing.
that's like the partnership and the high five and, the support of one another, which I think is so huge. And, I love how you said expressing your boundaries so often, like so many of your loved ones, your friends are going to be supportive of that. And I think for so long, either I didn't recognize that or I was surrounded by people that weren't that way. I love the
Mhm.
quote, like the only people that aren't going to like your boundaries are the ones that are benefiting from you not having any. And
Mhm.
so what I've noticed, and I think what's really cool to see is like you will find your people as you stick up for yourself. And what's beautiful is then, just like you said, Renee, is your people are going to support your boundaries. Like, no worries, I really wanted you to come to this thing, but like go rest, like go do your thing. I don't want you to stress about coming to be with me, whatever. So I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the whole other conversation about the partnership, that's just so funny story. Jason, my husband, I know we were talking a little bit before recording. I was like, it's a Monday, right? It's a reentry Monday. I had family in the house. My husband was traveling for like the last week. He landed on a 7 a.m. flight this morning. And so he walks in, he's depleted, right? So he's like just waiting for me to rescue him and like, it's okay, you're home. And I'm depleted. Like I had 11 people in our home and it's like if you don't say anything, it can just be this whole
Yeah.
miscommunication,
Mhm.
fight, resentment. Instead of being
Mhm.
like, I know you're really tanked, so am I. Like, how can we get through this day together? We split up the crazy errands that had to happen. Like, it's just whether it's girlfriend friendship, your partner, your boyfriend, your husband, it's like that communication of our needs is so crucial. And the first part in that is you knowing them yourself because you can't communicate it if we're not honest with ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
great.
was telling Renee, she wasn't familiar with this movie, but do you know The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn?
I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen it.
It's a very funny movie. And I just think there's like parts of it where everyone can relate to, but they have this whole moment where she's like, I want you to want to do the dishes. And he's like, why would I want to do the dishes?
Yeah.
They just go back and forth. And it's like, you can't just expect that your partner's going to want to do something, but you can choose to communicate, this is what I need. And so I
Yeah.
have that with my husband. He'll be like, just tell me if you want me to unload the dishwasher, just tell me. Like, I can't read your mind and I don't
Oh,
want to do it. But if you tell me, I'll do
yeah.
it. And it's simple
Right.
as that. That is it. End of story.
It's like these
Yeah.
self-aware conversations. And, there's like that theory that, like, if you can't satisfy yourself, then your partner is not going to be able to satisfy you, right? Physically, sexually. And I think it's the same thing. Like, if you are not self-aware and in communication with yourself, then how can you expect your partner to understand your wants and needs and just like
Mm.
subconsciously read your mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I like to look at it like these below the iceberg conversation or below the iceberg like feelings that are so intertwined in all of our communication with our partners. Like the fights about the dishes, it's never the dishes, right? It's all the stuff underneath. Like I
Yeah.
want you to want to do the dishes because I want you to want to support me. I want you to see that I'm fried when instead
Yeah.
I'm like pushing at you and a man's reaction to that is going to be to pull back. It's like it's such a whole
Yeah.
funny dance. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And a game. It's
it's a
we could call
game.
that a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's
And I
just be
think
explicit.
bringing humor into it is helpful. Like,
Definitely.
yeah,
Hmm.
that. So
Hmm.
I got to watch that movie again. It's been a really long time.
You'll get a
So.
chuckle. You'll get a chuckle. I'm curious how you fit the stuff in with your kids because we are not parents. We don't have kids. We have furries. But with children, I feel like there's such a big opportunity to kind of teach them these lifestyle health practices. So, and Renee and I used to always say, like, we don't want your biohacking to take you into a corner. We want it to bring you into community. So there is like this opportunity to do it with your family and to explore these things together rather than it be mommy's got to go do hyperbaric or mommy's got to do her infrared sauna. How do you pull
Yeah.
that into the whole family?
Yeah. I mean, it is like I think it's realizing, just kind of going back to the first thing, like setting your values, right? If your values health, you're going to always find it. If you think that self-care, doing these things for yourself is selfish, like it's going to present that way. And when we can reframe it as role modeling, our kids follow suit.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
one of the things I did after I got sick to like help get better and stay better was I changed up my morning routine. And so I started to call the morning, like in my head, I wanted to create like a morning lounge. And so the thought in my head is like, how am I going to do this? You know, the kids are like 1 and 4 and 6 and like wake up needing, wanting me. But what's so cool, guys, is like it completely changed everyone's nervous system in the morning. So what used to be like the morning of like I'd wake up, brew the coffee, the kids need me, blah blah blah. Like I just created this space and everyone would saunter into this space and it started out as just like a little bit of red light. And then we accumulated a penf mat and then I think I put on like meditation music. And so what happened that I didn't even intentionally know I was creating is I'm like breaking the cycle of a rushed morning for our children.
That's
So
Yeah.
like our
amazing.
kids will wake up extra early if they have, something on the weekend like soccer or whatever, because they want to have a slow morning. And they'll sit with the red light or like a big rule in our house is like nature before screens. Um, so they're
Love
they're
that.
starting to do those things themselves. And I love what you said about community and instead of separation. Um, but there is also the reality, like I do want to move my body. And so like there are weekends where I want to go to the gym and that is a little bit of like I have to duck away from the family to do that.
Mhm.
But I remember my parents doing that. And again, just going back to role modeling, like I'm teaching them through my habits and I'm using words with them like I can't wait to play with you too. And this is something I have to do for me because I come back a better version of myself. Like this is how I take care of me so I can take care of you. Our kids are really smart. And I think, a lot of it just comes down to communication and habits. And now, I mean, our youngest is 8. She comes with me to yoga. This girl, I'll have to send you guys a picture of what my daughter can do. It's like crazy. She's like doing
That's so cool.
scorpion and all these cool moves. Our oldest son
Ah,
goes to the gym every day. And I think that's because, they've watched us. Like,
Mhm.
you guys know
yeah.
you've got a
Yeah.
healthy home, and I know you say you only have fur babies, but like you're still creating a culture with your partner, and we really
Yeah.
influence their actions, not our words. I know that's like everyone knows that, but
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
leave my amp coil on the couch and my dog goes and lays next to it. So I guess that's my little lounge area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pets and kids know like they just gravitate to what feels good, right? So like I
Mhm.
Yeah.
call it my sit spot back here. I've got my penf mat, I've got my red light, and my daughter. So every night when we go to bed, she's like, "Will you wake me up for meditation?" So I'll come out, I sit, and then at like 5:30, she has me pull her out of bed. She's like sleepy, but she'll just lay there with me. Like she loves to start her day like that.
I
Like
love
how
Wow.
that.
cool. How
That
cool.
is
Like I
so
did
cool.
that.
That is so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I know with my cats, one of my cats prefers the PEMF mat, and my other cat prefers the rose quartz infrared heating mat. It's so
Oh,
funny to
sounds
watch. Like
lovely.
that's where they go. They don't ever cross over. That's their thing. So, but yeah, I think
Nice.
That's
role
so
modeling is
interesting.
that's amazing. I mean, even Lauren and I growing up in like a health conscious household, I don't remember being like super aware of things, but it obviously set the stage for where we are today.
Right.
We love to work out, we love to eat healthy, all the things. So, yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's great.
And I think, like I love that you guys loved the humor that I used when I met you at that panel. And, it plays in my head a lot these days. Like the clocks just changed. And so it's really dark in the morning, right? Obviously. And we've got all these biohackers telling us all the things that we can't do until it's light outside. And I'm like, haha, that's hilarious. Like I'm literally leaving with my 3 kids to go to school and it's dark outside. So it's all well and good, but like it doesn't work in my life to not be up and ready.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think it's,
Yeah.
it's taking the knowledge of like no matter for me and for our family, no matter how early our day starts, we will always carve out that space and time before. So like I will still leave the house before it's dark, but we will absolutely incorporate some red light and we'll wake gradually and we'll have like this low key morning. Then we will tap into like a little bit of white light to wake up. Sometimes there's homework finishing up, there's breakfast, there's conversation. Um, but it's like taking the information out there and then applying it in a way that works in your life instead of like trying to just follow this one system where again it's like we're focusing on what everyone on the outside is telling us to do or who to be instead of intuitively knowing like that doesn't work for me. And instead of like brushing it off as a fail or a loss, I'm going to figure out what does and I'm going to build my own, right? Because
Yeah.
Hmm.
that's where we
Yeah.
truly win. And it's going to look different, whether you have kids or you don't have kids. Like all of our mornings is going to look different. And I think it's like a rhythm, not a routine. It's just about
I like
setting
that.
our nervous system and like filling our cup first, whatever that looks like, keeping it low key and easy, even if it's like 2 minutes, 5 minutes on that mat. It's creating this habit of like going there first, being with me before I'm there for the world.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious, are there any other biohacks? So you mentioned red light, PMF. I know, well, hyperbaric, if you want to share anything about that. Are there any other biohacks that you bring in?
Yeah, I mean I tend to like I'm really big on tapping into things that I can do at any time with my family, right? So like being in nature, for me playing is like one of my biggest biohacks. Like that's how I'm harmonizing with my biology and getting back to me. It's like playing and I get to do that with our children. So like we're spending a lot of time riding our bikes. We're at the park, we're in our yard. Um, I do a lot of just like mindset and awareness. I know maybe we'll get a chance to talk about the brain syncing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I do have some favorite biohacks that I use for sure, especially, if we're traveling or if like we're burning the candle at both ends that I know will get me like at 100% really quickly. Um, I have a
Mm.
hyperbaric chamber here. We're very fortunate to have that. It's one of my favorites. It's like a little sensory deprivation tank, right? You go in there for like 45 minutes or an hour. I'll actually,
Yeah.
like, if I'm up in, the middle of the night or like the wee hours of the morning, like, I'll crawl in there and I'll do a meditation and kind of ease into the day. So it's really nice having that at home. We have a sauna space sauna we recently got, which I love. That thing heats up so fast.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
it gets
Nice.
hot.
yeah, so that
Yeah.
works well. Like, I mean, I can literally turn it on and do a session and like be done in 10 minutes from start to finish. So that works great. I do that every
Oh,
morning.
wow.
I take a methylene blue. Uh, I do
Love that.
charcoal like when we travel, but I mean, to me, it's bioharmonizing and it's really like the biggest key is listening to my body. And then whatever it is that I want or need, I'm trying my best to get that from
Yeah.
within. But those are my favorites. I mean, they've definitely moved the
Yeah.
needle. They definitely all have a place. They definitely work, and I'm so glad that more people are learning about them. Um,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think
I
it's
like,
just,
Yeah.
yeah, it just always comes back though too to like not putting more power in these outside tools than we have within.
Love that.
yes. And you did allude to this, like honoring what your body needs, honoring the physiology. So let's talk about brainwaves because we have these rhythms. There's so many examples of rhythms in nature and our physiology, like mainly the menstrual cycle, but our brainwaves go through different stages throughout the day. So how can we actually work with what our brain is preferring to do at a certain hour of the day?
Yeah, this is huge. And like these are my favorite kind of tools because you can use this at any time. So like if you're a mom and you're in like the crazy carpool kind of scene, or if you're a busy woman and you're going from like work to Zoom meeting, meal planning, whatever, you can use this anytime, anywhere. It's free, so it's literally accessible to anyone and it applies to anyone with a brain. So we're all covered here.
Hi.
Um,
I think so.
But essentially, this is what gets you from feeling like chaotic or frazzled or just like fried or like brain foggy, lethargic. This helps kind of just bring everything to homeostasis. This tool is really good for getting to the end of your day. And, have you guys ever had one of those days? I'm sure you have a lot of them now, but maybe like in previous life, they didn't happen as much where you're like, wow, today was like really easy. Like today was really good. I don't know what was different. Like maybe it was my shirt or maybe it was the coffee or like it was just a good day. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
this tool helps create more of those because what it does is it puts you in a state of flow. And so a lot of us know a state of flow is like present time consciousness. We're not worrying about past and we're not worrying about future. And so what happens in a state of flow is everything just kind of happens as it needs to happen. We're in a state of peak performance, but our nervous system is calm. And so at the end of the day, on these kind of days, it's like you look back, you got everything done, but you feel a sense of satisfaction with the way that you showed up as you did them, which I think is really cool. Like I'm all about, it's not the do's, it's who we be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because self-care is just sometimes like another to do on the list. Like, how can we change who we be? Because that shifts everything, right?
Absolutely.
You really think
We're
about it.
all
Yeah.
about more being, less doing. There's no things to do. We can
Yeah,
always step into
always.
more being. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can always, we always really have a choice. And sometimes the choice is hard depending on how much you have going on in your life. So I love this tool. I kind of nerded out on this. And this came just to give a little bit of a backstory. Um, I got really sick. I got a neurological form of Lyme disease about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. So we had a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old at the time.
Mm.
And mine presented as meningitis and encephalitis. And I'm a chiropractor. I'm not seeing patients in the clinic right now, but I was at the time. And I was homeschooling our 3 kids. Well, 2 kids. I mean, our youngest was a year. But like breastfeeding, co-sleeping, all the things. And literally lost my mind in like a very short span of time. Like things were like coming up. Like I was getting headaches, which I don't normally get. And then it just got a little worse, a little worse. And then it was like, I can't find my way to our clinic that's 2 miles down the road. Like things got really scary.
Mm.
And I've always been someone who loves the brain. Like I did a lot of functional neurology classes in school and then post grad. And so, I knew I had to get better. And thankfully, I had the tools to get better. And then once I did get better, I knew I needed to figure out how to actually take care of myself, right? Like, I think it's a dilemma that a lot of us women with full lives have. It's like, yeah, we know to put the oxygen mask on first, but I don't have time. Or like, I can't. I come home from work to my kids. Like, it's not realistic. And I really started to like geek out on the brain. And I think it's because that became like my weak spot. So I was like, I just want to know more about how this all works. So I've literally spent like the last decade, like kind of playing with this and figuring it out and making myself N1, like patient number one. And I mean, literally, I just said, like, I have a hyperbaric chamber at my disposal. I have a sauna right there. Like, this is by far my most powerful tool that I've ever used. And it's just syncing with your brain cycle. And so, just to keep it really simple, I mean, our brain, like, for the most part, I'm gonna keep it pretty general, but goes through a few different, like, waves throughout the day. It's almost like radio stations, right? So it's like different radio stations. So think about how like certain music, like meditative music would make you feel a certain way, like super chill, super vibe, whatever. And then maybe you'd throw on like some, I don't know, Beyonce or something if you want to like go hit it at the gym. Right? So like music makes us feel a certain way and like creates an emotion and movement and a certain kind of energy. And brain waves are the same. But it's like we don't different from a radio where we put on the radio station and then we match our vibe to it. Like our brain waves are there and we need to match or align our daily flow to them. So for instance, when I got sick, like it was a Lyme, it was a tick bite and it was mold toxicity. But I really think ultimately, if you would have given it 6 months, a year, and if I didn't get a tick bite and I didn't get mold, it would have been something else because I was just like burning the candle at both ends.
Hmm.
And so I realized what I was doing is like I was waking up and I was going right into brainwave beta. Beta is like your get shit done brainwave. She is your marathon runner. She is like if we personified her, she's that friend. She's probably really fit. And you're like, how does she get it all done? That's
Mhm.
beta. But beta isn't active until midday. She's like the 9 to 5er. So I was waking up and I was going right into beta because I was like, okay, I gotta homeschool the kids before I go see my patients. And then I finish with my patients. I come home and make dinner. I gotta work out and I gotta get emails done. So like, I don't know where to do it. I'm gonna do it at like 4:30 a.m.
I think a lot of people do that, especially with
Right.
their phones. My understanding is you playing on your phone or being on your phone is immediately beta.
It's beta. Any white or
Like,
blue light, yep, it's beta. And so you think about
so,
like when you wake up and you get out of bed and you're like, let me get ahead of the day, let me check the emails, let me scroll my phone, let me play on social media. It's like we think it's mindless, but it's not. It's beta.
Hmm.
And so what
mm,
happens when we do that, you think about a marathon runner. Like she's amazing, but one, she needs water breaks, which is like those tap dancing play in between the Zoom meetings, or me doing the handstand, or someone sitting for a cup of tea. It takes 2 minutes, put your phone down. Those are like the marathoner's water breaks throughout the 9 to 5 day, which by the way, we need to get back to like a 9 to 5 work day.
Mm. Or at
So
least
many people.
have a warm up at the very least.
Right, right, right.
Ease
yeah,
into it and just start instead of sprinting right away.
Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
So, working beta 9 to 5 and before beta, instead of getting on the screens, it's enjoying a bit of it's theta and alpha are our brain waves when we first wake up. And theta and alpha are magical. And I think we don't give them enough like credence. Uh Theta, like when you have you ever heard someone say, I get my best ideas in the shower?
Hmm.
Oh,
Have you heard
yeah.
that? So we're
Yeah.
in
That's,
theta. When you're in the shower, like if you're on a long drive and you don't have to think about where you're going and you're daydreaming, that's where we get our best ideas. That's where we're super tapped into our intuition, to insight and to clarity. And we like blow right over that phase when we get on our phones. We shut it off. So
mm,
literally like two minutes, I aim for 5 minutes in theta. In theta, the action step is just listening, right? So like I walk out, I recommend everyone establish what I call a sit spot. It's like a place that you just go when you get out of bed, so you don't think about it. Like I just go, I sit right behind here. You don't need anything special. I have a penf mat, I have a red light. Those are things I accumulated. You could literally sit on a pillow, and I recommend lighting a candle. So your action step in theta, because everyone's always like, what do I do? Tell me, what do I do?
yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't go on your phone. If you have to go on digital, like make sure you have a red light filter, which you can like triple click the side of your foot. You can like set up a shortcut. I have a video on that if anyone wants.
Yeah.
But ideally, you don't go on blue or white light or screens because, like Renee said, that throws you into beta. And then after that, just real quick, is alpha. And alpha is literally flow state. Alpha is our connection. It's our connection to ourself. It's the state you want to be in when you're on a date or having a conversation with your children. Alpha will create like high quality time without a lot of quantity. So this is where like we can spend 5 minutes and connect with ourselves and actually fill our cup without having to take that hour, right? That
Mm,
morning ritual of being an hour. I get 5 minutes in alpha and I feel like, all right, I did it. Like I'm good. I spent that time with myself. Looking at a candle, looking at a flickering flame will put you in alpha. So if you're someone who like sits to like meditate or journal or anything like that and you struggle, you can literally stare at a flickering flame and it'll biohack you into alpha.
cool.
Which is
Okay.
interesting because alpha is your connector brainwave and there's flickering flames at every romantic restaurant. I don't know if they did it
Yes.
on purpose, right? But it
Oh,
literally puts you in your heart. Isn't that beautiful?
Mm, that is so
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And so the
And I mean,
action
you think about like people sitting around a campfire, like
Connection.
connecting.
And you think about that
Yeah.
zone you get in when you're looking at the flame. Like
Yeah.
you're not thinking about the future. You're just totally relaxed, right? So imagine if you
Nothing
started your
matters.
day with
Yeah.
5 or 10 minutes of that. And there's studies that show if you spend even 5 minutes in alpha, you will create peak performance later in your day. So for someone like me, that information helped because I'm like, oh my God, all the things I'm not doing, right? But you start to realize like all the things you actually are. Like you're setting your nervous system so you can get it all done later, but you're not going to be like frazzled and crazy as you do it. You're not going to burn out your marathon runner. So when you actually need her later for an important meeting, she is going to be like peak on, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah. That
thing,
makes a lot
just
of
real
sense.
quick, yeah, the other thing real quick about alpha. So like anytime you go and connect with yourself, right? When you do something good and you have that beautiful feeling, like most people will recognize that feeling after you work out. You know that
Hmm.
feeling where you're
Hmm.
like maybe you went into the workout and you were like your head was busy and then you get in your body. You are in alpha. And then you think about what we do right when we're done working out. We're like, okay, I just took like an hour away from the emails and work. And so you grab your phone, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if it's like the power of 5 minutes, like if you could just spend 5 minutes, maybe it's the car ride home from the gym or just like 5 minutes with a cup of tea or just 5 minutes like sitting post workout and just letting your nervous system flood with those alpha waves before jumping back into beta, it's huge. And so what I love about this tool is, again, these are like 2 minute, 5 minute, essentially biohacks that
Mhm.
take like very, very little time. And they sound so subtle, but I'm telling you, like these move the needle like nothing I have ever played with. And then just the
Yeah, I
last one,
bet.
I know we got to be conscious of time, but there's two more, delta and gamma. I just talk about delta. That's what we hit when we sleep. We're diurnal beings, so there's things that happen during daytime. There's very important functions, as you guys know, that only happen at night. And so, I think all of us women, men too, know that we need an evening wind down. But how many times are we like, let me just get that last email out, or oh shoot, I forgot to do that thing.
Mhm.
Knowing this information helps create the accountability to like put that thing to the side until tomorrow. Because if we don't have our evening wind down, again, even for 5 minutes, we're not going to get into delta. And so there's all these systems, and I shared on the video of like what is not happening when we don't take that evening wind down. Like we're not getting a lot of our lymph system isn't clearing out. Our lymphatics absolutely will not work. Lymphatics are the lymph system of our brain, as you know. Growth hormone, you guys can name all these things. Like there's so many important functions that won't happen if we don't take that 5 minute evening wind down, and having this information just gives you that little bit of extra like reasoning why saying yes to yourself and why tuning into those whispers that are really telling you exactly what you need is so crucial to, being able to get to the finish line.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think a lot of
yeah.
us think that we can override these systems, that our body's just a machine and we can just click, but it's looking for cues in the environment constantly to
Yeah.
empower these stages. So, yeah, I think we just have to say that over and over again because people are like, well, I'll just do some work, but then they wonder why they're not sleeping. And like, if you really think about it, you know why.
Yeah. And I
I'm,
think, we can override it for so long. And it's like if we don't listen to the whisper, then it has to become a scream. And the
yeah, they'll
scream
just
is going
keep
to take so
talking.
much more time, right? It's
Yeah.
it's going to not be like a headache. It's going to be like something's wrong with me. I need to go get blood work, right? It's going to not
Mm.
be a tight muscle. It's going to be I threw out my back.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
we can
have to
Yeah.
push through,
listen.
but at what cost?
Yeah. I'm just curious
Yeah.
on your opinion on using binaural beats to support moving through these stages.
I love binaural beats. I love, love, love them. I think they're super powerful. And so, I have Brain Tap. That's also one of my favorite tools. And then, what's always been really important for me as a mom is like, if I'm in the car and just in a bit of a tizzy and I've got a car full of kids, like I can't wish for my Brain Tap device, right? So I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
know what I can do now. So, sometimes it's just an awareness and a conversation. I'm like, okay, lots of beta going on, kind of stressing out, crazy loud car. How can I get into alpha? How can I connect with myself? And creating this conversation with yourself, because again, we'll have the answers. Sometimes it's something as simple as like, I really want to hear a song that I want to listen to, and like cranking that up and not hearing all the noise in the back. Right. So it's just always
Yeah.
wanting to have the tools accessible anywhere. But I love those. And I think that's really key for someone who's new to this. I think that's where like these bigger, more powerful tools are really important, because until your nervous system starts to feel the states of like calm and relaxation, it's kind of hard to find them and create them on our own. I think that's like a place that we aim to get. But,
Need
when
a
I was,
gateway.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a gateway. When I was sick, I mean, there's no way that I could have sat with myself and gotten myself to alpha. Like, I needed to be in the chamber and I needed to be pumping some vitamins and getting sauna. Like, I had to, right? So I
Mm.
think there's definitely a place for both.
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 Last night I got home kind of late from a flight, flying cross country, dealing with jet lag. And I don't know, when I come home to like a messy house after a vacation, I'm like, I gotta clean everything. It's like the worst habit. But I'm like wired, but so tired. And I'm like, I know I gotta go to bed. And so I went, I laid on my PEMF mat. I did my HRV biofeedback breath work for 10 minutes. And I climbed into bed. I told Lauren, I think I fell asleep in less than a minute. Like
That's
it's
amazing.
amazing how I went from that probably beta to like
Yeah.
delta so fast just from that
Yeah.
quick
And
thing.
I think that's where the tools are so cool. Again, like we kind of talked about this when we met for my podcast. Like, I love that it's hitting a tipping point and, more people are having access to these because, you know, I think we all, and probably a lot of your listeners, live a really healthy lifestyle, but we came from a place where we didn't. And so these tools, either if you're not there yet, you don't have these health habits yet, will help you get there. Like Lauren said, they're a gateway. Or like in the times when we're pushing the needle, like travel for sure will fry you. And so coming home and having access to these things that can literally bioharmonize and change our physiology are game changers. It's like you
Yeah.
you drop right back in. Like tomorrow, you're going to be completely good, back to normal, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You probably already are today.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel a little
Yeah.
off today, but it could be
But
worse. Could be worse.
you have the tools. You're working on expanding that toolbox so you can get right back on that reset. So important.
It's scary.
So in terms of the tools, because you have so many cool offers and things, little things on your website, can you share with our audience where they can access all of your cool things?
Yes. So they can go to drmelissasaunders.com, DR, and then my first and last name.com. And then there's a tab called resources. That's where I've got all my freebies. That connection code one to help you figure out what it is that you love is in there. The brain syncing is called Regulate Your Rhythm is in there. I've got an online book club for women. It's free. I think a book is an incredible gateway tool for connection. So, if you're someone who's like, yeah, this sounds great. I need a low key morning, but like, what am I going to do? I suggest a book. And so if you've got a book in your hand, a book is incredible. Like, when we scroll our phones, like we talked about, or go on our phones at all, it puts us into beta. When you literally read the words across a page in a physical book, I'm a big fan of like a paper book. You activate something in your brain called the corpus callosum. It basically balances your hemispheres and gets you instantly into your body. And so
Mm.
it's like a biohacking tool essentially in a book. And I love it because you can bring a book anywhere. I always have one with me in the car in case I get to pick up a line early. But a book is an incredible gateway tool. And so each month I suggest an incredible book. We read it together. And then extra bonus, I bring on the author and we have a sit down community call. And Q&A coaching with the author at the end of the month. So it's like a really cool, all the books are transformational nonfiction. Right now, we are reading Do Less by Kate Northrup. Next month, we're reading The Hormone Fix. Dr. Anna Kabeka is going to come on. So it's a
Oh,
really
that's
cool book for
amazing.
any woman looking for a community that maybe doesn't have it. I wanted to create like what we all get access to when we go to these conferences. You hear these amazing speakers and you learn something and you're buzzing.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of brought it all together in the community. So
Ah, that's so
that's
Amazing.
called
cool.
Best Friends Book Nook. And that's on there as well. That's free.
What a
Okay.
great biohack. Why are we overlooking books? It's such a good biohack for community and
Yeah.
also for sleep. We have a comedian that we like, and he always jokes like books are better than melatonin. You know,
Oh,
Oh
like
yeah.
at nighttime, just
totally.
read a book, you go down.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's so
Thank you
great.
for
Okay,
that.
we'll link to all of that in the show notes because I'm sure everyone wants to check that out. And yeah, I'm a big fan of reading books. I'm trying to read more this year because I've gotten so into podcasts, which obviously podcasts are amazing. Yes.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm trying to go back to reading more paper books. So I love that. Very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
join Book Nook
Yeah.
with us. It's so nice. I
Okay.
mean, that I will tell you that is where you start to realize these pockets of time. Like I have a book in my bag. I fly through a book a month, and I was like, I don't have time to read. Like if it's in your
Yeah.
bag, you start to notice, oh wow, I'm standing in line at the DMV for 45 minutes. Like I could read probably a few chapters,
Yep.
Yeah.
And especially
Yeah.
when you travel, it's a great thing
especially when you
to
travel. Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know we have to let you run, but just one final question. What would you recommend our audience starts doing today to optimize their health? One thing.
Oh my God, so good. Reestablish the connection with yourself. You are the best doctor, guru, mentor, friend. I mean, I named the book club Best Friends Book Nook in hopes that this connects you to the best friend within yourself. It's, in the age of information, the age of podcasts, like the most important voice that you can tune into is your own. And so take advantage of some of my free tools. They're all there to help you get back to that connection with yourself. But you are the number one most important person in your life, and you are the one who knows everything that you need, want, and desire, and you're the one that's going to go create it.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Perfect.
I love what you're doing. I love what you're sharing with the world. We're so grateful that you came and spent an hour with us today. This was so
Thank
fun.
you, ladies. So good to see you. Let's do it again
You
soon.
too.
I know.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. We will see you next time.